Hey guys, it's Verge. Today I want to share with you 5 tips for beginner worship leaders. If you are starting out as a worship leader, I know how it feels when you are in front of so many people and you're thinking about what song you're singing or what's the next song that you need to sing. You're thinking about the lyrics, you're connecting your heart with God, and you're assessing, are the people worshiping, are they able to connect with God? And there's so many other things that you need to think about. And I know that feeling, that how can you become a better worship leader? What are the things that you need to know? What are the things that you need to prepare so that you can usher people into the very presence of God, where they encounter Him and where they have an experience with Him? So I want to give out to you 5 simple tips that can help you as a beginner worship leader. So the very first thing I want to share with you is prepare. Before anything else, make sure that you prepare spiritually when you lead worship. It's not even so much about one-time preparation that you fast for how many days or you pray for hours and hours and hours and hours before you lead worship. But it's more about building a lifestyle of worship. It's good when you already have that kind of lifestyle before you even start leading other people into the very presence of God, before you lead worship in front of congregation. It's very important that, just like David, you develop that personal lifestyle of worship with the Lord. While he was still tending his sheep as a shepherd, he already have this personal time. He has this personal time with God, and he has this intimate moments worshiping to God out in the fields together with all his flock, worshiping Him in the most secret places. So just like David, it's so important that you develop as a worship leader to have that personal moments with God, to build your history with the Lord in worship. So make sure that you have those personal moments. Build a lifestyle of worship so that when you step out and lead the congregation into worshiping God, it will just be an overflow, an outflow of what you have inside of you, of what you have in your personal times with the Lord. So if you encounter God in your personal moments, in your worship moments, then you can lead or you can invite other people into that same encounters that you have with God. It becomes easier for you to lead people into worship if you already experience God in a regular way. So I really encourage you, build your personal worship lifestyle with the Lord. That's very important. The next thing is listen. Listen to what God is telling you. As you prepare, as you spend time with God, hear His voice. Take time to listen and soak in His presence and be filled with His love. Be filled with His goodness. And don't worry yourself too much on what songs do I need to sing, what other preparations do I need to do, but be confident and be at rest and just trust Him and listen and ask God, Lord, what are you saying in this season? And in those moments that you have with God, you will hear His voice and you will hear what He is telling you. And perhaps you would even hear from God what songs He wants you to sing for that particular Sunday or for that particular gathering. Or maybe even you will know what season your heart is in or what season the congregation is into. Because it's very important that you capture what song is fitting for that very season. I have those moments when there's just this particular song that's so real in my heart, and I know it's the Lord that is impressing upon me this particular song. So I would worship the Lord through this song in my personal moments, and even as I do my daily things, in my daily work, I would be worshiping, and in my heart is that song. So I know that that particular song is for that particular season. So it's important that you hear from God and ask Him, Lord, is this song for the church? Because sometimes you may need to differentiate the songs that are just for you personally from the songs that is for or that are for the church. So that's why it's so important that you ask God and you hear His voice and ask Him, Lord, is this song for our church? Is this for our congregation at this specific season in our lives? So make sure that you have time to listen to the very voice of the Father. Now, number 3, the third thing is make sure to practice with your band. It's so important that you have time in worship, practicing the songs that you will be singing with your band. And if you are singing a new song, make sure that you give enough time for your instrumentalists and your worship team members to be able to learn those new songs. Make sure that you send them out videos or chords so that they can study beforehand before you even meet for practice, so that when you meet as a team to practice, then you will not be spending too much time on learning the song. Everyone is already aligned and they already know how to play the song, so that makes your job easier as a worship leader. So make sure that you spend time together as a team, practicing the intro, the extra, and how you flow with every song. It's important that you build chemistry with your team, that you know how to flow with one another, and make sure that you, each of the team members know the signs that you use in your church or in your worship team. Like for example, we use this sign for the verse, and then we use this sign for the second verse, and this one for chorus, and so on and so forth. So it's all about team dynamics. So it's very important that you have your time of preparation as a team to practice with your team, so that when you lead worship, you will not be thinking so much about the dynamics of the song, but you will be focusing more on your heart towards God, in worshiping God in spirit and in truth. So that's why it's so important that you have your time to practice as a band. Now, the fourth thing is to coordinate with your leaders. You must coordinate with your service program directors or whoever is in your church that is in charge for the worship service, so that you will know which part of the service are you coming in as a team, which part, is there a song that's needed to be sung in this part, and so that you will know what are your limits, what is the time frame that is given for you. For example, you only have 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour for worship. So with that, you will know your boundaries, because for me, it's important that you also balance things out with good organization and to be organized in our services. Of course, we want to be sensitive with what the Spirit is doing, but at the same time, we want to be organized and to be orderly in our program. So we don't want to spend the whole day or maybe 5 hours in our worship service. So we want to be sensitive to our time, to the time of the people that is attending. So that's why it's important that you coordinate with your coordinators in your service. And of course, coordinate with your pastor as well. Make sure that you know what your preacher would be preaching about in that coming day, so that you will know what his topic is, and that you will know which songs is appropriate for that particular service. And then lastly and the most important thing is to be authentic. When you stand up there and lead worship, you don't have to copy anybody else. Just be who you are. Be real in your worship. Be authentic. And as you lead people in, you don't even have to say so many things to exhort them into worship, because sometimes that could be the trend, or that could be the thing that you do. So I encourage you to just say a few words, fewer words. For me, I think is better. But the most important thing is to be real with what you feel, with what's in your heart. Be authentic in your worship. And so when you lead worship in front of your congregation, feel their heart and feel the heart of the Father. And desire in your heart that you will be able to connect their hearts with the heart of the Father as you lead them in worship. I had my experience leading for the very first time, and when I was up there on the stage, I was so nervous. I don't know what to do at that very specific moment. I prepared. I knew I had my own personal times with the Lord. I know that He is working inside of me, but it's so much different when you're in front of the congregation. There's so many things happening inside of you, and you don't know what to do. And I was, at that particular time, in that moment, I was singing our first song, and I was so troubled in my heart. I was so disturbed. Why am I feeling this? Why am I so conscious about myself? And then I just had to stop. I decided in my heart, this has to stop. I just had to refocus my heart on God and really worship Him in spirit and in truth. Now, the moment I did that, when I stopped, literally, I stopped singing, I stopped playing. And when I refocused my heart to God and aligned my heart to God and say, God, I'm gonna worship you with all that I am, as if I'm alone in this room. This is what I know. This is how I know worship is. So this is the only thing that I know. So I'm gonna worship you with my all. And you do the rest, God. So when I did that, I felt the very presence of God. I knew I was connecting to the heart of the Father, and that's the most important thing. And when that happened, I could feel the presence of God, the rest of the congregation, and they were experiencing God. They had encounters with the Father during that specific moment. So I hope that with these 5 tips, you'll be able to improve, or you'll be able to become better in leading worship. So let me just give you a recap of those 5 things. First is prepare. Prepare yourself spiritually. Make sure your heart is okay. Make sure that you have your own personal lifestyle of worship. Second is to listen. Listen to what God is saying at that specific moment in time, in that season in time. Third, practice with your band. Make sure that you have time to practice all the dynamics so that when you lead the congregation, it will be all smooth. Number 4 is to coordinate with your leaders in your church. Make sure that you touch base with your program director and your pastors and your preachers so that you are all connected and you know what's happening in church. And then lastly is to be authentic. Be real in your worship. Be real as you lead people in worship. And as you connect your heart with God, I know that God will come and He will fill that place with His presence, and the people will be able to connect their hearts with the Father. So I hope those 5 tips that I've shared with you will be able to help you in becoming a better worship leader. So be blessed and enjoy your week.